Hello, this is Dr. Paz, and I wanted to record this in lieu of having our class last night because I did get my first dosage of the Moderna vaccine and it did not agree with me. So I appreciate your patience, and so I thought I would just record this for you and kind of go through some stuff here with you and see if that will help you. So we are actually in week 5. And as you can see, we have our PowerPoint here, and then let me download that. And then we have basically, you can, let's go back. Sorry about that. Let's go back one. So here we have, we are in week 5 and obviously starting here. So we have our PowerPoint, practice and review, our discussion, which I think several of you have already participated in. And then we have the Excel template here that I'll go over, and then some of the discussion questions for chapter 5. So let me start with the Excel a second. So let me come over here and let's start with that. I think that is where most of us struggle a little bit. So let me start with the Excel, and then I will probably record a shorter video to go over the questions. So what we are doing here is basically you need to enter amounts. So we're trying to come up with our predetermined overhead rates, right? So we have the estimated overhead divided by the estimated activity base. And you see that each rate, for example, the setup, the purchasing, and the other overhead rate have a different measure. So for the setup rate, we're taking our estimated overhead that's given, and then we're dividing it by 1,200 estimated engineering hours. Then for the purchasing rate, we have an estimated overhead of 187,500, and we're going to divide that by that activity driver, which is 15,000 estimated machine hours. So that'll give us $1,250 per part. And then lastly, for our other overhead rate, we have the estimated overhead, and we're going to divide that by the direct labor hours. So that would be 420,000 divided by the 50,000 to come up with a rate of $8.40 per direct labor hours. And then what we do is we actually are entering this information here in part 2 into our job order cost sheets. So here you'll see that it's $28,000 of direct material and then $10,000 of direct labor, and then we take the rate for each overhead, the 130, the 1250, and the 840, and we multiply it by the actual activity. So you'll enter $130 at $20 per hour per setup, then you'll get 2,600, then you'll have the 1,250, which is our purchasing rate, times the 150 machine hours that were used to get the 1,875. And then lastly, we have our other overhead rate, which is basically 840 times the direct labor hours of 650 hours to get our total of 9,935 for our overhead. And so then we have just our cost summary here, which we start with the beginning balance, then we get the 28,000 of direct materials, and then we have the direct labor of 10,000, and then the 9,935. So we add all of those up to get our total. And we do the same thing for job 16 and job 17 and 18. So again, we have for job 16 our direct labor, direct materials, direct labor, our rates times the actual amounts. And then we start with our beginning balance, and then all of our amounts here, the 37,009 for direct materials, the 8,005 for direct labor, and then the overhead of 8,942 for our total for job 16. And then when we look at job 17, you have direct materials, you have direct labor, and then you have each of the amounts again by the actual amount used. And you see then the 25,350 of direct materials, the 23,000 of direct labor, and then the 20,490, and we have 92,930 as our total cost summary. And then you do the same exact thing for job 18, as you can see here with all of our rates. You can see all of the amounts, and this one doesn't have a beginning balance. And the same thing for job 19. There's no beginning balance. And so then basically what you're doing here is you're adding what's in your work in process, which is the last two amounts here, because these are in work in process. And then jobs 15, 16, and 17 are actually the ones that go into the balance, into the cost of goods sold, into our income statement. So I hope this helps that review.